Start. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Oh. Good evening, Dave. Good evening, Dave. We haven't really. I've got a bit of an idea what I was thinking about talking about tonight, but we just thought to begin with, we just open it up and see if anybody wants. Does anybody come with anything they want to talk about? Is there anything that we could talk about tonight that would be of interest to anybody? Is there anything that
You see my new jacket?
Oh, no, we're not talking jacket.
Did you say new jacket?
Sorry?
Did you say my new jacket?
My new jacket. Did you see it? Oh, you did, didn't you? Yeah. We could talk about my new jacket.
It's a very nice jacket.
It is.
And
nice. You won't run off with it. I won't bet you.
I'll try it on. We could talk about Mike's jacket. Nice jacket. That's Eric's. He's dodgy.
Yeah.
So does anybody have anything they want to talk about other than Mike's jacket?
I must say that I have been having a bit of difficulty the last couple of months, really, with my health. And like I've just had like a 6-week granular pharyngitis, and it had settled. And today it all started up again, and I'm like,
Wiped out.
Seriously, it's enough. You know, like when there is some kind of space in between for relief, I can kind of manage. But when it's just constant and it's ongoing and there's like no like peace, it does start to get to me. So like I first had the Crohn's relapse and then this stupid throat thing, and like I look it up and it like says on Google, Dr. Google, it takes 5 to 10 days to clear. And I'm sitting here going, what the fuck? I'm on day 55. What is this shit? And I've gone from doctor to ENT, and they literally stand there scratching their bums, like not knowing what to do with me.
What is it? What are you talking about there then? And what did you say it was called?
Pain. I've got granular pharyngitis, so it's like a throat thing, but I've got like all lumps all over the back of my throat and my tongue, and I've been quite literally living on ice cream.
Oh. Bless you. You can't even bask in the glory of Jessie in peace.
Nah, stop basking. Glory of Jessie. She's just, that child is flying. She really is. And she's just growing every day and learning more. And she's just amazing. Really, she is.
Did anybody see the video we put out about Leanne and Jessie?
Yes.
Sorry.
I found it really, really helpful what both of you said. I can't remember what you said now, but I listened all the way through and it was really helpful. I can't explain why, but it was. So thank you so much for doing it, and to Jessie, it was great.
No,
it kind of got me back. I'd started to think I could kind of come back and listen to some of this kind of stuff again, and I just started thinking about it, and I came across it, and it was one of the first things I listened to, and I was kind of what you're saying makes sense, and I kind of want to hear more again. So thank you.
That's an absolute pleasure. We really enjoyed doing it.
Leanne, are you right? Are you comfortable speaking?
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. Does it hurt?
Well, it does. You know, like he's giving me this stuff called magic mouthwash, which literally has local anesthetic in it. So it's like when you had a dose of that, you're like in heaven. It wears off.
I mean, could you talk a bit about, I don't know if you want to, but is there anything else that's kind of come to you that since you spoke about what you spoke about? Hi, Susan, love. since you spoke about that on you and Jessie did that call, that recorded thing we did. Is there anything that came that you wish that you'd spoken about that you missed?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit about that? Is there anything? Can you bring it to mind now? And
Well, one of the major things for me was that what the three principles has brought to my life is a lot of the magic in life, and to recognize it and see it all around you and just absorb it and enjoy it, because there is so much beauty and magic out there. And what another thing like that has been very huge for me through my three principles learning has been watching my own ego and trying not to get caught up in that, and judgment, how I so often get caught in judgment, and how you so often see other people getting caught in judgment, and how debilitating it is, and it's completely unhelpful. And as soon as I've become aware of it, I can, I feel it disappear. I don't have to do anything. It just disappears. And so this last weekend, this cousin of ours invited us for lunch, the one who had come to my house shouting the odds that we needed to take Jessie to an institution. And it was a tough one because, I kind of said to Jessie, it's your call. Like, if you're not comfortable going, we won't go. But if you are comfortable going, we'll go. And I was kind of half hoping she wasn't comfortable, but she did. She said she'd go, and she was fun, and she was amazing. I mean, she got into a swimming costume in front of them. She didn't care. She swam. She did. She was her old Jessie self. And I mean, that was just amazing. The strength that she has is also just incredible. And I think I sent Jenny a text after we'd spoken to the professor, and how this professor, whenever we speak to him, he kind of it's not him, but well, he does. He kind of plants the seeds of fear and doubt in me, and I just reap them from there, kind of thing. So I got off a call from him, and it was just after we'd had this amazing weekend away, and we'd done this amazing talk with you, and I was feeling like so good about everything, about life, about myself, about Jessie, about everything. And I got off this call, and I went nuts. She came to talk to me about dropping an intro a day, and I was like, absolutely not, are you mad? And and I totally went off on one and started shouting at her, and she looked at me like, what happened to you? Where's my mom gone? And I knew what I was doing, and I just had to walk away from her for a few minutes and get myself together and kind of go, what are you doing, and where's this coming from? And I straight away saw that that I have fear buttons that get pushed, and once those buttons are pushed, I just lose all perspective unless I catch myself doing it. And I'm really lucky that I did catch myself doing it, because I managed to backtrack, and I apologize to her because that was totally me, and that was just me acting out of fear again. And then I've just found myself like work has completely turned around. It's weird. From people who were trying to fire me a year ago, I've now become apparently like strawberries and cream. They love me and they think I'm the best. It's like, how did that happen? But I can just see that my life is improving, and the way that I think and the way that I feel and the confidence I have in myself has all flourished. and grown, and I'm feeling like a peacefulness. The only thing that's getting to me at the moment is pain. But I have also, there was somebody advertising, they're doing their thesis on pain management and they're looking for subjects. And I just randomly volunteered. It was one of the most random things I've ever done. So yeah, so they phoned and screened me and they've accepted me. So I'm going to start doing that from Sunday. Yeah, and we'll see what I learn, where that goes.
Cool. That's, you know, getting to spend time with you and Jessie has been, for me, one of my favourite, if I call it work things. It's right up there, like, and we're saying in the thing, I know, Leanne, basically Jessie has had, I don't know, Jessie's had anorexia. Is it anorexia?
Yeah. And I always throw the Nervosa in just to scare you more.
Yeah, that's it. Karen Carpenter stuff. And, you know, it was interesting. It was challenging. It was like seeing the limitations of my ego in moments, and then seeing the fundamentals about health, how we help people find health. And one of the things I love that Jessie spoke about, I just want to, at this point, just say, Godel, welcome, man. Lovely to see you. At least lovely to see you.
Hey, Godel.
How you doing, man? Is Jessie spoke about love. In the interview we did with you, Leanne, Jessie spoke about how coming from love is one of the things that helped her find healing within herself. Was when you started speaking to her about coming from love. And, you know, we've had quite an interesting day today. We've been with a member of our family who is very passionate about world affairs and systems at play, and she can fight. She can fight. She can try and get you to think like her. And so for a lot of today, as we spent just having conversation, quite interesting conversation, you know, a conversation which is challenging. And I often find in a challenging conversation, I start to see something deeper. I learn something myself. And it's interesting seeing the nature of fear. You could say that fear is the absolute opposite of love. Fear is where all mental illness is born from, if you want to call it mental illness, if you want to use that term. It's always born of fear, depression, fear, anger, fear, worry, fear. Mental anguish is fear. Nobody ever goes to the psychiatrist because they're experiencing too much love. You know, we know that when we're in love, the world's all right. The world's good. We're all right when we're experiencing love. When we fall in love, we find that connection. We find a connection when we fall in love with whatever it be, Lise, whether it be horse riding, Godel, whether it be a refugee that comes in. I know that I've spent time in your presence, my friend, and you're one seriously loving being. You know, every single religion points to love. In the Bible, they say God is love. Very specific words. Love. What is love? It's the polar end of fear. It's the opposite end of the magnet. If you have a magnet always has to have a north pole and a south pole. positive pole and a negative pole, if you like. You put two north poles of a magnet together, they repel one another. You put two south poles of a magnet, they repel one another. But north and south will always connect. They're inseparable. And in the same way, love and fear are inseparable. And this is one of the things we spoke to this lady about today. It was a really interesting conversation. And we spoke about fear and how fear only ever resides in a duality. Fear only ever resides in a duality. It only ever resides in the idea that there is something to be afraid of it. There's something to be afraid of. There's a somebody there being afraid of something there. Whether that afraid be of the future, what's going to happen, what could happen. It's always a separate thing, a separate event. But in love, it's always a unification. You know, when I fell in love with Jen, all of a sudden, this person who I knew, I suddenly felt connected to. I felt the connection of love. You know, when we fall in love with people or places, we feel a connection. We say that, I've got a strong connection with that person. The duality is collapsed. You know, this is a self-evident thing in the everyday to-day life of existence. That love is the unifying field, the ever-presence, the only truth. Because ultimately there is only ever connection. When I say connection, I remember saying this to Mark. It hasn't got a lid, but if that had a lid, I'll take that out. You know, we talk about connection, coming together. To be connected is to connect at least two things. The two things truly don't exist. There's only the singular. Disconnection, separation, fear are only ever born of the illusion of life. Form taken and minds dreaming a story about the form taken. And I think this is one of the invisible things to the psyche. It's an invisible thing to people. It's invisible until they become aware. One of the things you spoke about just before, Leanne, was you spoke about how it's not that you haven't experienced fearful thinking, but when the moment you become aware of what's going on, it passes. Interesting. All you have done is become aware. Oh, here we go again. That entity of thought in that moment that looks so true and real, the moment the light of awareness falls upon it, it evaporates and falls back to nothing again, as showing the true nature of the illusion that it truly was. So most people, myself included, you know, I was completely unaware of this. I was unaware of the nature of reality. I was fully immersed in the illusion of reality. But funnily enough, there was deep down within me, I knew there was more to life, and I knew it was there. I just couldn't find it. But I knew I was missing the point. And it was only through listening to Sid and Sue, and since then subsequent like conversations and listening to other people, has that grown and grown and grown and grown for me personally. And it's like, I was saying to this individual, you know, when you really look at life, you look at this universe, what is it? Where does it come from? Where does humanity come from? Where does nature come from? And this individual was like, energy. It's energy, isn't it? Oh, it's all energy. I'm like, okay, well, what's energy? I don't know. Okay. Fundamentally, we don't know what energy is, what we call energy. Some people call it energy, some people call it God. It doesn't matter. These are just words that we are trying to attribute a noise, an identity, give something a label so we can communicate a message, because that's all language is ultimately. That's how we communicate en masse, on the whole. So I asked this individual, I said, you know, where do we come from? She said, your mother. You came from your mother, I came from my mother. Did we? Okay. You could say that in a physical sense, but where did humanity come from? Where did the essence of life come from? Where does this earth come from? Where does the sun come from? Where did the universe come from? And she sat there and she pondered for a little while and she said, I don't know. I said, I find it really interesting that we on earth, in our life, walk through life getting so tied up in the details and the this and the that. And we just sat having a cup of coffee and said, we're always talking about the cup. It's talking about the sugar tongs. We're always talking about the table. We're always talking about the weather. We're talking about this. We're talking about that. We're talking about Corona. We're talking about all the details of life, all these labels and details of life. But we don't even know what life is. We don't know where it all comes from. It's a divine mystery. It always has been, it is now, and it always will be a divine mystery. So I said at this point now we've established that creation is a divine mystery, including the creation that goes on within the mind of people. Why do people think what they think when they think it? Why do I think what I think? What is mind? What is consciousness? What is thought? I don't know. Anytime I try and identify it and give it a label, I'm creating a concept. Mind, consciousness, thought, it's not a concept. But what mind does is it creates concepts and realities that look real. It's phenomenal. I can't explain it, but it's taking place within every single living being all of the time. Is this divine mystery giving birth we were out for a walk with our friend Jackie the other day, and she said, it sounds to me like what you're saying is the big bang in every moment for everybody. Yeah, absolutely right. The moment of creation is now, forever and ever and ever. The moment of creation is now, not in the past. We tend to think of the moment of creation as being the big bang, if that's what happened. And no. The moment of creation is always now. God isn't a past thing that happened in the past. It's also not something that will happen in the future. It's only something that only ever exists in the moment now. The only time, the true time. The rest of it is just it dreaming ideas and beliefs. But when we start to see that ultimately creation itself, including our own being, is an inexplicable event, it starts to beg the question, if from the foundation of reality itself, it is an inexplicable mystery, divine mystery, then how can we possibly truly know anything? Truly, how can we truly know anything about creation? About what's going to happen? And at this point, this person just started to get a bit quieter. Because you can see that myself included, I can get really lost in the ideas of my own mind. Or I'll hear something and somebody will tell me something, and for a moment I can feel my heart sink and I fall into a space of fear. The what ifs. Only thankfully, and eternally thankfully myself personally, to have woken up and realized that truly I cannot know a thing. Godel knows the quote. Godel used to study philosophy. But Godel, who was it who said,
I know.
I know nothing? Who was that? And how did it go?
That was Socrates. Socrates who said that what I know is that I know, that I know, that I know nothing.
Yeah.
So what I know is that I know, that I know, that I know nothing.
Yeah.
That I don't know. What I know is that I know, that I know, that I don't know.
You see, in the Western world, the not knowing is seen as a weakness. It's seen as a we don't celebrate people who don't know things. We celebrate the people who know everything. You know, we try and instill this within children to get to know things. For me personally, the most powerful place I ever find myself is in the space of not knowing. When I suddenly go from that fear, when I've heard somebody say something, oh, this is happening in the world, and I fall into that fear, only to remember, but do you know that's true? No, I don't know that's true. I can believe it, but I don't know it's true. All of a sudden, I'm back in a present state. And this present state is one that can, and I said this to this lady, I said, when you are in a space of thinking you know something, you can't hear. You can't hear because you are simply listening through the filter of the belief of the thing that you think that you know. And in a way, it makes us, now, as my mother once put it, it makes us narrow-minded and tunnel-visioned. In some cases, quite aggressive and forthright and a bit of a pain in the ass to be around sometimes. But to start to look, to start to, rather than becoming, spending a lot of time focusing on the details and the creation that life has taken, if for a moment we start to focus this phenomenal, inexplicable event of consciousness that each and every single one of us is, and we start to focus it on the source, what is life? What is it? What is this event we call life? What is this incarnation as a human being? This temporary manifestation of matter that we call our body, that we get so attached to, this life and the story of our life that we get so attached to, we become afraid of death. We become afraid of change. The two inevitabilities and absolute definite consequences of existence, death and change. We become afraid of it. The universe has never sat still. Why would it? It's the creator of everything. Why would it create a singular event? Surely that would get boring. Why would it not create infinite events? Why would it not dance and create all kinds of mad things? Why would it not live all kinds of lives? Because it's that's happening. It's that. And when they say that God is love, when an individual, for whatever reason, in a moment, starts to get a sense of love, there are zero problems. It's funny. There are no problems in love. When an individual finds themselves in a space of love, all the problems in the world vanish in front of their eyes. They do not see a problem. They do not see anything to worry about. So what is there truly to worry about? If we can start to see that when we're in love, there is no problems, there's nothing to worry about, would it not make sense that worry and everything that we tend to worry about, would it not make sense that ultimately that is an illusion of our own mind? To start to wake up to that knowledge, that awareness, is to start to align ourselves with something so fundamental to life, something that very few people are prepared to contemplate. They're too busy trying to solve their problems. I will solve this problem and then I will come and have a conversation around that. But right now I need to look at this. No, 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 no. If you could have a look at this, you would see there was never a problem in the first place. The problem is only of a perspective of mind. And at this present moment, in this present climate, within this world, there has never been a more perfect time for people to start to consider this. At this time of rapid internet communication, there's messages coming from all over the places. We've got the news, we've got the this, we've got the social media, we've got hearsay, we've got newspapers, whatever, bombarding us with information. Terrified people all over the world right now. People lost in fear. Fear, the absolute polar opposite of the essence of what everything is. Fear is only ever created from a duality. Fear is only ever created from separation. Fear is only ever created from lostness within a story. The identity, the entire wholehearted buying into the story of the reality that we each encounter. And as we said to this lady today, there are 7.7 billion people on Earth, apparently. So I'm told. And these 7.7 billion people, I do know, do not experience the same reality that I do. Because if they did, they would all have been metal detecting today in the same field with me. But I didn't see anybody else there. So if we do have this 7.7 billion different realities walking around on the face of planet Earth, if we can start to consider that notion, it starts to throw up things about our own reality. 7.7 billion different human realities taking place in the face of the Earth right now. Each of us seeing an entirely different world. Some people are seeing a terrible world. Some people are seeing opportunity. Some people are scared for tomorrow. Some people are scared for 10 years' time. Some people are mourning last week. All of us are in a different state of being. Who is seeing the true reality? What is the true reality if we're each seeing a different one? Is the true reality ever found in the content of the reality that we are experiencing? Or is it found in the unifying place from which the reality is born? The essence of our being. Do you say something?
I was just going to say, I know Godel had mentioned he wouldn't be able to probably stay till the end, so I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to share.
That would be nice.
Because we opened it, I don't think you were here at the beginning when we said we'd love this to be kind of questions or comments or what people are seeing. So Leanne had started us off, and there's only a few of us. But if you have got anything you wanted to share, I know that you said you maybe won't be able to stay up till 11 p.m. South Africa time.
No, thank you. No, I'm really touched, profoundly touched right now with so by the reality of love as Dave is explaining right now. Yes, I remember when we were still in university. We have been told that a great man was questioned. He was asked to resume, if I may say, in French we say resume, to put in little words So he was asked if he could put in little words what the Bible, the whole Bible says. And while standing on one foot. And then he said, the whole Bible, what it says, it's love of God and love of your neighbor. That's all. So it's all about love. That's the Bible, the Holy Bible. So now coming to love and fear. You said, Dave, that where there is love, where there is love, there is no problem. Where there is love, there is no challenge. And that's true. So how do we make sure with this love that is living into fear that we can live only in love, that place of love? What do we have to do to make sure that we can only live from that place of love, where we will never see the challenge anymore? So it's not that I'm asking the question, actually, it's just a thought. And where this is taking me is the reality of living in the presence, living in the now. I think that is the answer. We need to make sure that we live now, because the truth is life is only happening now. It's only happening now. Life is now. Life is in the presence. So if humanity could come to a place where we say, okay, the past, yes, there was a past, but the past is the past. It's no longer there. The future, but why should I care about the future? I know nothing about the future. What I know is what is happening now. So can we come to a space where we can only live in the moment? Because that's where I think love is happening. Love is happening there, in the now. And if I am in the now, it is almost impossible that I can really be in a situation of fear. It's really impossible. Now, my reality now. So this is actually my little contribution to this, because I've been really thinking about the world reality of COVID, all the things, and why should we really be afraid? It is what it is, but here I am. I'm living. Yes, there are people dying, but I am living. So what is really happening? Why should I be afraid? And this is the truth. I am here now living. Probably because, this is another thing, probably because there is no thought of death now, in my life now. There is no thought of death. And then I live. And then I survive the COVID. So let humanity get to a point that we can try living in the now. I think there is no other secret of ending the war where I'm coming from, DRC, for example, being in a South Africa where it's not easy to be accepted as a foreigner. But here we are. How do we make sure that we can end that war? How can we make sure that we can end what is happening here? The challenge that we are facing every day. Let's live love. Let's live in love. Let's live in now. That's where everything is happening. So that's for me. Now, Dave.
I love that. It's so nice to see you, buddy.
Thank you. I put you on the spot,
That
but
was beautiful, man.
it was perfect. So I know that Lisa was looking forward to listening to you, and she logged in just as you started speaking. So
It's such
I'm
a
also, I'm also starting to fade a bit. But there was just one more thing I wanted to tell you about that had happened this week. I spoke to a friend of mine, and she told me that her daughter had tried to commit suicide. She's 13 years old. She was friends with Jessie from when they were little 2-year-old kids. And how her daughter had been in a clinic for a few weeks, and that she was out now, but like she's not communicating, and she's just like shut down, and I just burst into tears. I was so sad for them, because it's like almost like the polar opposite of Jessie. And this is a person who I think I've tried to save since the day I met her, because she's had a really difficult life. And I straight away wanted to jump right back in there and fix everything for her and save her. But I'm also almost scared to go and talk to her about this, because I feel like what she has experienced is so huge and so dangerous that like I'm not in a position to kind of help her.
What do you think
Yeah.
you need to know, Leanne?
Sorry?
What do you think you need to know to help her? From your
Well,
experience, what has been the thing that has helped you and Jessie? What has been the thing?
the thing is to tell her that she's okay, and that she has always been okay, and that she'll carry on being okay. But you kind of worry that it won't fall on ears that hear. And she's a very like closed off little girl who's like she's always been sad. There's always been like a sadness about her, even from when she was tiny.
Is she in a place where anybody would have ever seen her health?
Probably not.
Yeah. Okay. The thing that started to save my life was when somebody stopped talking about all my fucking problems, and somebody just spoke to me like a whole human being. One of the things that really stands out in my memory is I remember when I had my affair and I was married, I was in such a bad space. But one man, I can't remember who this person was, said something, and all they said was, "You're not the first and you're not the last." Everyday comment. "You're not the first, you're not the last. Get on with your life." That, in that moment, changed my experience when I heard that man say that. You know, when people come to us with all kinds of issues, problems that they face in their life. We've seen all kinds of things, and we've spoken to all kinds of people from all over the world, people from cultures very, very different to our own, religious beliefs and all different kinds of things. And we've seen people wake up through this message. People in prison, people in utter psychological turmoil, anorexia, addictions. People don't know they're all right. People do not know that fundamentally they are all right. What they're truly experiencing is a dream state of reality that they're lost in, because people don't know. And I think inside of you, Leanne, there's an awful lot of wisdom. You just need to listen to some people. Some people just need to be listened to. And then drop in a little bit of how you've come across things, how you've seen things differently. Because sadly, the system that is at play at the moment in this world, the psychiatric, psychological model, does not recognize health. It is trying its absolute best to label every single, create more diagnoses. Because it's valuable. Each diagnosis has a monetary value to it. So of course, there are people in this world who are trying to create more and more psychological issues, psychiatric labels, because each and every single one has a value, because now we can make a drug to counteract it. We can sell things.
She's on medication.
Don't doubt it for a moment. But nobody on this earth is anything but perfect. We can totally and utterly lose sight of that. We can get so lost in the stories, so lost in our thoughts, so lost in our mind, because that's all that's ever happening, is because it's the only reality we ever encounter truly. Now, if at some point you feel moved to go and have a conversation, Godel has been speaking about it. The thing that Jessie speaks up about, the thing that helped Jessie was love, and you seeing her wholeness. That is immeasurable for people's well-being, health, movement in their life, growth, happiness, fulfillment. Just having one person who sees them as whole. Just one.
Well, I think the other day when we were driving down, it occurred to me that we were talking about light and, I think we've been listening to talk about light and dark, kind of as metaphors, and I realised if you are, I don't know if I'll be able to put this into words now, but if you're in a room filled with light and you open the curtain and it's dark outside, it doesn't touch the light. Whereas if you're in a dark room and there's a small light, it starts to make way in the dark. It starts to show things up. And light is another way of describing, like in the Bible, consciousness. And its message from the very beginning was raise your level of conscious state. Like, allow your light. And it's living from that, from a place of love or light. And then when we're with people, we find ourselves saying things or not. But I think when we think we have a teaching or a message that we have to portray to someone, that can feel way too much. And we could trip over our words and we don't want to say the wrong thing. But just showing up with the lightness that we've found and being around people, I think that's how we start impacting them, which is why, you said at the beginning, suddenly work's different. People are seeing you differently. There's been people that have started conversations with you in work and told you things about them, because there's something about when you light up and people want to be around you. And I think we make it so complicated.
Mm.
And I know that working with you and Jess, it was like, it took me straight back to the beginning of like, what was it? What was it for me that really was the change? And it was Roger seeing me as a whole human being. He did not buy into my story. He just saw perfection. And I got to then see him going into the communities that were very downtrodden, full of all kinds of like violence and just awful stuff. But he went in with fresh eyes and he was the light for them. And he said that the teaching wasn't very much in the early days. It was just getting to know people and seeing them, see each other. And we really learned that again from working with you and Jess. Because when I lost sight of Jess, on that, I think it was actually the one call. We sort of came, you'd sent us some photos beforehand, and it suddenly felt probably a bit like you do with your friend. Whoa, we're a bit out of our depth here. In South Africa, maybe she does need to go somewhere. And then seeing the reaction we got from Jess, and she wasn't that keen to then book in the next time to speak to us. We learned so much from that because she felt it. She felt that shift from us. They're not seeing me as whole, they're panicking. We'd jumped in the river with her. And it's like, it's for us first. Like Sid would always say, be selfish with it. Do this for yourself and then live. And sometimes you'll find yourself teaching. Sometimes you'll find yourself listening. Sometimes you'll find yourself thrown in the river with them and totally getting lost. But that's the learning. Like, and it's, you can't, often when we've done talks and things and you've gone off on one and afterwards you're like, do you think that was too much? Or if we've been doing a one-to-one with a client and Dave seems to have been really assertive of like, do you think I was to this? Like, I don't know, like it happened. So it's almost like you see that the unfolding is as it should, it can't be anything else. And we can learn and we can grow.
I think I really feel like that point there is so important. That point of it is always, reality is always an unfolding in every single moment. It's a birth. It's this instant creation continuously.
With creation and destruction, you can see them just. It's not. Yeah. They're not different.
But I think what you were saying just there, it's like when you can start to see that what it is, what it is. All those sayings, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's like people say that, oh, it is what it is. We say it all the time, it is what it is. When you can really start to see it is what it is, it's like all of a sudden you find yourself in a state of acceptance. Acceptance isn't necessarily apathy. Acceptance is simply seeing the world for how it sits, how it is, without judgment, without preconceived ideas, without any kind of right, wrong, good, bad placed upon it. Acceptance is just seeing the world as it sits. It's seeing the world objectively. And I think that that's one of the things that seems to really come for people who start to look in this direction. They start to find more acceptance. You know, and they find people, they can accept different cultures, for example.
And it's like what I asked Lise to speak a bit about it last week when you just said the thing that changed for you is you trust your life. And I think, like, I phoned Lisa up, I think it was this morning, it might have been yesterday, saying she's on holiday in Scotland and I'd sent her a present and then I'd gone online and it said it'd been delivered and it's definitely not been delivered to her. So then I had this picture and in my head I was thinking, oh God, it's supposed to be like this nice present and now she's going to have to go hunting around this village trying to find it. And you were just like, oh, who am I going to get to meet? And it's like, you can see how for some people their immediate would be, oh God, what a hassle. Oh, and what you start to see how much we create misery for ourselves by wanting things to be different than what they are. And we don't see opportunities in it, but it doesn't seem like it's something that seems to come more naturally when we recognize something about our nature and we get less lost in the content or the idea of who we are. And if we think we're this kind of person, like people are, oh yeah, but I'm just pessimistic. It's like, what are you? Have you always been? Like, there's no room for movement because you know something about yourself. And I think that's the beauty of this, is it seems that the creation and destruction just keeps on happening. Like, we're going to have ego, we're going to have these ideas and self-importance and righteousness, but it's like that they as quickly die as they're born, and new things can be created. You don't have to keep having the same thing. And I think that's the trust bit. It's like you trust in life. Like, you can't show up with your friend wrong. She can't show up with you wrong, even if she has a huge reaction and it falls on deaf ears. Like, without that idea of getting life wrong, who knows what conversation will come. And I know that one of the people that had the biggest reaction to Sid's message was George Plansky. So angry about it, like so angry. And he's been one of the people that's made one of the biggest contributions to getting the principles out in a huge way within the psychology field. But his initial reaction was disgust, anger, rage, the rest of it. So it's almost like we think it needs to be received in a certain way. But I think when we come back and we find that presence and love, like, you can't get that wrong. You can't.
Well, Byron, like, we got home from our holiday, and I think the minute we walked back into our house, it all kind of started up again, and Byron was getting stressed, and I just like went up to him and I just gave him a hug. And like, I think he was like quite like taken aback by it, because usually when he's having one of these meltdowns, I'll kind of walk away, and for whatever reason, I just felt like I needed to go give him a hug. And then we had an argument a couple of mornings ago, and he came home from work and he said, I want to give you a hug. And it was like, that's so awesome that it's like, you know, that he's also getting it and feeling it. And
it's interesting. Yeah, I often talk about this. My family was resistant to my change, but now every single one of them, every single member of my family, my sister's on Waverley. That's my sister. It's like my sister, when I first told her I was taking her somewhere, because I got you a thing for your birthday to see Dick and Bettinger. He was talking in Manchester, as far as I was concerned. That was local, and Lise couldn't hear it from me. And I remember you said, I'm not going. That's your shit, Dave. Your weirdness. But you came with me in the end. You did come, thanks to you and his words. Like, you came and you heard something. And what you heard did not fill you full of fear and anguish. What you heard, I remember being with you when I think the penny dropped. And it was when Lisa and we'd listened to day one. My sister's like the sun. This is the stillest I've seen her sit in since forever. She just doesn't sit still. See, there you go. And I thought going to take her there was going to be like it'll go one or two ways. It'll either go really, really well, or it'll go terribly. Lisa will not be able to sit still. She won't be interested in this. But within the first half an hour, I remember Dickon had drawn a diagram of something Sydney Banks had drawn, where he drew a line on the board, and he wrote form at the top and formless underneath it. And this arrow coming from the formless, coming from nothing, the physical universe takes form. This was a diagram he drew that Sydney Banks had drawn for him, that from nothing, from the formless, things come into being. Again, we're back to this completely and utterly inexplicable event. Science cannot describe how things come into being and then how they go out of being. And so Sid was trying to explain, Dickon was explaining this. I remember sitting next to Lisa, and Lisa was sat upright like this, looking. And then I remember we went out for a drink afterwards, and we went and bought a bottle of Prosecco. And this was at a time when I'd had my affair at this point, and my sister's best friend was my wife. So it was a very difficult time, and Lisa had felt very torn and stuck between us both. But I remember sitting in this Prosecco bar, and I remember Lisa just holding onto my hand, and I looked at her and she just had tears rolling down the face. And I remember you just saying, I've never felt so beautiful in my life. That spontaneous event of pure unconditional love changed Lisa's life. It changed her life. That moment, 30 seconds, a minute of intense, maybe just a few seconds of intense, unconditional love, where everything was perfect, can change an individual's life in a moment. Because once we've gained sight into it, once we've become aware of it, you cannot unknow its existence. And you know its beauty and you know its truth. And from that space, knowledge seems to, for whatever reason, Rusty's doing his breakdancing. Stop now. And knowledge, unconditional knowledge, knowledge beyond what we learn about at school, what we read about in books, our knowledge for life starts to come for people. And it's that where the moment somebody, and I know that when I had my experience of realization, it was pure love. If I was to sum it up, 1 second. If I was to sum it up, it was just pure unconditional love. But that's just words to try and describe something I can't put into words. See you, Leanne. Love you loads, love. And you see, love is the thing. This is why Jesus was preaching love. This is, as Godel spoke about, the Bible. Sum it up into a resume. The Bible's about love. Why do we want to talk about love? Because love's connection. In love, there is no fear. In love, there is no suffering. In love, there is only truth. God is truth. Truth is God. God is love. It's all there. It's all underneath our noses. 1 more second. Rusty's doing his dance. In this world right now, one of fear and division, where you walk down the street and people are afraid of one another. People are so terrified of one another. There's such a separation taking place on this planet. You walk in shops, people are avoiding each other. They don't even speak to one another anymore half the time. Very few people are shining the light of love. Love is the only thing that will heal it. Love is the thing that heals our lives. Love is the thing that heals illness. How many illnesses are caused from stress? How many lives are lost through stress? Heart attacks, illness. We mustn't underestimate the power and the simplicity of love, decency, connection. I remember being in South Africa, and our friend, I often talk about this, but this lady said, the problem's too big in South Africa. Look at the division in all the people, all the homelessness. They're all black. All the people that are on the streets are black. Problem's too big. Well, like, no, the problem isn't big. The problem's so small. This is all just that you're talking about is a consequence. The problem ultimately is the way people think about one another. The beliefs that they hold on to about one another. South Africa will change when people's minds change. It has to. It absolutely has to. Because the world is a direct reflection of mind. This is why we have to start to wake up to this. This isn't just a little add-on to life. Oh, I'll learn about this now, and then I'll have life. No, this is life. This is the nature of life. It's been said since time immemorial. Many, many people have come along and they've said this. Many, many people now are waking up and realizing its relevance and its truth, and they're going out and they're sharing from their words and their understanding. What a beautiful thing. More and more people in this world are going out to try and help the next person. It's happening. This is the good news. This is the beautiful news.
I think Liz had a hand up.
Did you have your hand up, Lou?
Liz.
Elise, to the Elise. You've got flanked by
I think
Lisa.
both of them.
Hi, Dan. So you said love can heal pain. How? Tell me some more about that, because or maybe that was kind of a generalization. I don't know.
It's a really, really valid point. The love I'm talking about isn't for a person, an individual, or an object. That's conditional. I will love you as long as you don't betray my trust. I will love you so long as you are always attractive. I will love you for. I'm not talking about any form of conditional love. I'm talking about a primordial love. A love that has to be realized and experienced. A love that isn't anywhere other than here and now. It's not in the future, it's not in the past, as Godel was speaking about just before. It's only ever now. It is the essence of life itself. It is the nature of connection. It is the nature of life. When an individual wakes up and realizes God, they don't talk about a devastating, horrible event. They talk about the most beautiful experience they cannot put into words. But what they always come back with is the word love. And when people find God, they don't find it up on a cloud. They don't find it in a book. When a person realizes God, it is an event that takes place, and as every other realization takes place. It takes place within their own being. Like every other realization, it has to take place from within our being. When people realize God, it is an event that takes place through their being. God is realized to themselves. When I'm talking about God, I'm talking about love. The essence, the absolute ground zero of everything, reality, you, me, life, the universe. I used to really suffer because of stress. My eyes deteriorated. My sight started to go. I was having irregular hearts, beats. Forget what the hell they call it now. My heart wasn't beating correctly. Went to the doctors for it. Was put on tablets. I get pain. Pains like my body was reacting entirely to my mind. Stress kills. Stress kills.
Yeah.
Kill an individual like that. They will drop keel over dead from a heart attack. What is stress? It's thought. Stress isn't anything but a ball of thoughts. But because we live in this dualistic world where we attribute our feelings to objects and people and conditions, we assume that the world creates stress. The world doesn't create stress. Only the mind creates experience. Only the mind creates reality. So when people start to realize that, I know for me, when the moment I woke up, I used to have facial tics. Lisa will remember these. I used to get an awful lot of facial tics. Like my face would do all these weird twitches and stuff, and people used to take the piss out of me. And for some reason, they stopped. I still get the odd one when I'm tired, but on the whole, I don't walk down the street blinking like a wanker anymore. And my heart problems stopped. My heart started to just beat normally. Well, my pains disappeared. I hadn't done anything. I just, love had emerged from within my being. That was the only thing. If you listen to people, what was she called?
I don't, it's not her, but I was going to say, I know that Terry Rubenstein speaks about her experience in her book,
How to be ill.
the peach.
Oh no! Oh, the peach that wanted to be a coconut.
I don't know if it's in that one or Exquisite Mind, but she was in after the strange virus she picked up in Africa for about 9 months, and she got, did it go poorly? So she,
I don't know. Yeah, something
so
like that.
she couldn't move half of her face, and then she had to have her eye Botox shut, and like the noise, like when she was at the conference, they just said no one clap, no one make a noise.
I remember that.
It's so bad for her at the moment. Any noise is just excruciating. But it's interesting to listen to her explain and speak about what she learned through that. But she said it came through insight, that she didn't be afraid of pain. And it was constant for that entire period. And it's quite an interesting story, because I think there's been quite a few people who, like Leanne would have been another good person, because she has been in a lot of pain with Crohn's,
Multiple sclerosis.
she's got MS, and she's seen the impact her mind has on her physical. She's also seen that sometimes, like, she's going along great and suddenly she's floored by something, but how her relationship and her attitude towards physical pain has changed. But it's, I think sometimes you think, right, I need to have an insight to get rid of the pain, and it's like, if we're listening through that, we'll keep listening for someone to give us the answer. But when we allow our own light to come forth, we often know what we need to do, or what we don't, or what we shouldn't be doing, or what to change. But it's like we've stopped listening. We're constantly looking out there for someone to give us the answer or make us feel better. And it's almost like Sid was trying to say, get quiet. Like, you're your best teacher and your best doctor. Like, go within. And then that might be, I should go and see this person, or I should go and do that. But it's from within you. That's where the answer is. Like, it's not going to come from either of us. And like, I remember speaking to Lise about, I'd had to create this idea that I eat well, I exercise, I shouldn't experience pain, I shouldn't get things wrong with me. And it's like, I've still got pain, I still get all kinds of weird things. Like, that's actually stayed the same since coming across the principles. A lot of night pain, night sweats, different things. No idea why. But I'm less afraid of it now. And I could see when Leanne started the call, she was saying how it's starting to get her down again, having this constant infection and pain. And then we asked her to speak about Jessie. And it's like she just lit up, and she was talking about the insights and what's been happening. And so you can see how, where our attention is, we experience more.
Yeah.
I know I've had a bad back all day because I woke up this morning, I stretched, and my back went. And since I've been doing this call, I haven't felt it. You know, this power of consciousness, this light, wherever we focus this light, is what we see. You know, if we go looking for everything that's wrong with the world, you'll find it. You'll absolutely find it. That's the nature of consciousness. If you go looking for beauty in the world, you'll find it. You go scanning. We got a very close friend who is looking all the time for illness, constantly calling the doctor. I mean, he's never well. It's funny, the doctors never find anything wrong with him.
I was going to say, I don't know, Godel, if you'd be willing to speak. I know when we interviewed you, there's something you realised about pain and the power of the mind long before coming across the principles? You had your own insight about stuff.
No, thank you, Jen. And yeah, let me say this. And before I also disappear
No, we know it's late.
Cohen. So, yeah, you said it beautifully right now. You said, yeah, the answer is in you. The answer is in us. And it's actually exactly what Socrates wanted to mean through saying, what I know is that I know that I know that I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, because you are the one who, the answer is within. It is in you. You ask question, the answer is there. So what I want to say here, and unfortunately, Joanne is no longer there. She's gone already. But happy that we're recording this. You know, this world will always give us challenges. Tomorrow morning, there are challenges waiting for us. And the more we resist to whatever comes to us, the more we experience pain. So the universe creates those realities that we face every day. And the way, and actually, in everything that we face, there is no bad reality that we need to know. And what the universe waits from us is acceptance. Exactly what Dave said. Acceptance. When you accept, you say it is what it is okay. It is okay. You must know that miracle will start happening right there. Because by saying, okay, it is what it is, it's like you saying, I am grateful to the universe. I am grateful for the challenge that is coming now. I am grateful to everything. And is that power of gratitude, exactly, that is the solution. That's where exactly healing starts. That's exactly where you start connecting to the truth about your own life. That's where you start connecting to your true mission through that challenge. So everything is okay. It is okay. So thank you. That's my last word.
Thank you.
Hope we meet again next time.
Oh, Godel, thank you so much for joining us, man. Love you, brother.
Thank you.
Bye, Godel.
Oh, love that man.
Yeah. Thanks. What a guy.
He's some man. He's some man. He's a very special man to us, Godel. Lise, did you want to say anything? My sister. Lise,
Hi,
did you want to say something?
I'm just stuffing my face with apple and yogurt, and I didn't think you'd want to watch me, so I thought I'd put my video on black. No, I didn't put my hand up or anything.
Oh. Yeah,
You want me to say something?
you can do.
Say all sorts, but I won't. Sorry. No, but I'm quite sad actually because I did miss quite a lot of Godel's talk, which is a bit of a shame because I had to leg it to the petrol station because going to a talk about the universe tonight at the observatory in the forest at Galloway.
Oh, nice.
Guys were running out of petrol, so I was like, damn it. So I did leg it and then I missed it. So
You literally logged. I just said, Godel, do you have something you'd want to share in answer to this? As you logged on.
oh, cool.
You didn't miss anything.
Nice to see you all.
Nice to hear.
Can you hear Rusty snoring?
Yeah.
I loved what Godel said right at the end of what he said, when he said, acceptance is the beginning of healing.
And he said acceptance is where you find gratitude.
Yeah.
For what you're
One of the things Jessie spoke about when we did a call with her, which we put out online, little Jessie, 12 years old, she said, but Mum, I'm so grateful to have gone through this experience, to go through anorexia. And you should, anybody who's seen the video will see her massive eyes light up as she says this. She said, I'm so grateful. She said, because I've learned what I've learned. I've got to find this within myself. And we were like, Jessie, 12 years old and you're grateful for struggle. What is there to be afraid of in your life? She's like, nothing. Gratitude, acceptance. This isn't something to be practiced as such. It's something to be unearthed within ourselves. Acceptance. We can either accept the world, ourselves, our minds, our feelings, or we can't. One of them comes with peace, the other one comes as a war. The moment we don't accept, and I'm not telling anybody what to do in the world, I'm not saying if you want to go on a march, don't go on a march. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm talking about one of them, non-acceptance, is a conflict. Fundamentally. But fundamentally also acceptance is if two warring nations suddenly come to accept one another, say for example, Palestine and Israel all of a sudden were to accept one another, the war would end. Suffering would cease. If people can start to learn to accept their experience of life, the war ends. The suffering decreases. It's such a simple thing. I'm really thankful Godel came on tonight. It was really beautiful. Does anybody want to say anything? Anybody got any questions? Anybody want to say anything? Mel, saw you reach.
I just moved. Yeah, I don't really have anything specific. My internet's cutting out as well, so I might freeze. Yeah, last few months I've just been in a situation where I've not really had any, something's gone on and I haven't been able to control it in any way. Not that I generally try to, but I've really had no control over it. And it's all worked out to be absolutely fine. But I really had to just let go to what was going on. I don't know how relevant any of this is. It's just kind of coming up. And I hadn't been around principal stuff for a long, long time. And it changed my life on the retreats with Jenny and you guys. It absolutely changed my life. And then I wanted to share it and do all that. And then I stopped for a while and I just got on with life. And it was such a profound thing for me. And then when this happened a few months ago, I'd been doing a CBT. I've trained to be a hypnotherapist and I've done CBT and all this kind of stuff. And then I just came back to this and it was like, this is it. I'm finding I'm doing stuff with the odd client and I feel really like this is this is the truth of it. And the clients that I'm able to share this stuff with in a subtle way, instantly making such massive shifts. And then the people that I know aren't really open to it, I'm doing the tools and the techniques, and that's there's a place for that for them. But this has just guided me through something over the last few months, and I've just had a level of absolute acceptance in everything that is. It is what it is, and that's the truth of it. And I think if we're expecting it to be any other way, that place that we hang around in is just horrible, because it's made up.
You're back.
You're back.
Okay.
Made up. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it's just, and I've got a 4-year-old daughter, and she is just hilarious, and she pushes me every single day, and I'm at home with her every single day, and just my experience with her is fascinating, because there's so much in my head that I'm like uncomfortable with sometimes, and I'm like, this is what it is, you know, this is what it is. And I can't even really go into that much, but it helps. It makes life amazing to be okay with all these little things that happen that feel like they're wrong. She's got this thing at the moment that she's done it for about 3 weeks. She keeps licking. I'm like, COVID, is this the time you need to be licking everything and sticking your hands? Sometimes I keep freaking out and thinking, oh my God, there's something really wrong here. And then in the times of love, right, I guess the times of where I'm just in bed and I'm just happy and I'm okay and in love, that I know there's nothing wrong. I know there's nothing wrong. But when I'm feeling a bit stressed and a bit anxious, she's doing this thing, and I'm like, why are you doing this? But I know this is nothing to do with her. Yeah. This is nothing to do with her, what I'm experiencing. And it's like this all the time. So I can hold her in that space all the time, whatever she's doing. Nothing to do with her. It's just my experience of it. And I've experienced that all the time since the retreats and the massive change. But just this last few months, I've just sunk back into it, and I've listened. I'll go to bed and I'll put Dickon on, or I'll just listen, and everything's okay. Like, and it feels like I'm reaching out to something, and that might seem a bit weird. Like, oh, I needed to be okay, and I've reached out to the principals again, and but I know that's not what I mean. Do you know what I mean? I just know that there's this truth there, this underlying truth that's been there all the time for me. And
sometimes
I'm so grateful. Yeah, I'm so grateful. And for you guys just to be here and hear you talk, and just to see everyone. It's yeah, it's just, I want to say the answer, but it's not even that, is it? The words are just shit, aren't they? Like, the words are just, I love that everyone has this same feeling about this same thing that no one really knows. Cut out again.
You did. Everybody really knows.
Right. So we're all experiencing something that we all know is freaking amazing, and no one knows how we're experiencing it, because we can't be in each other's minds. But we all know it's the same amazing, and that's the truth, isn't it? That's the intelligence to me, because everyone's experiencing this thing that we can all sit, and it can almost be tangible, this amazing thing, but we don't know, because we don't know how anyone's experiencing it. But we are, because we're all just sat here talking about something that we can't really. I don't know where that came from. Sorry.
No, I remember somebody came and did an intensive with us, and they'd gone home, and I forget who the hell it was. It was a woman. And she just started speaking absolute gobbledygook. I knew exactly what she was talking about. I knew exactly what she was talking about. What she was saying made zero sense. Like, if anybody who was listening to our conversation would be like, what the fuck are you two talking about? You've gone mad. But I knew exactly, she was making no sense whatsoever, but at the same time, she was making the most perfect sense. And I said to her at that moment, I said, I know you've woken up to this now. Because you're not talking in some way that sounds beautiful, and you're talking from a space that is trying to put into a very limited concept called language and words, trying to put something so absolutely fucking impossibly enormous into a sentence. And anybody who you often see in America, like these, in the black communities, they start, when somebody finds God, they start talking in tongues. It's like that space of like, it's just noise. And the noise means nothing. It's just an expression of it. Please don't listen to my noise. Please try and hear what my noise is trying to convey. Find it within yourself. It's here. It's such an interesting thing. It's like when people start to wake up to truth, it's like, oh, love, or whatever you want to call it, God. It's like you often find they just stand there and go, I can't explain it. I cannot explain it. I can talk about the consequences of realization, but I can't explain the actual event. There are no words to it. And we listened to a beautiful talk of a man who talks about near-death experience and people who he interviews. And he says, you know, people are going to these near-death experiences. They come back and the people go, what was it like? I can't explain it. I can't possibly explain that. And they're like, great, off you go. So they start saying words. And he said, you know, these words are relevant to what they experienced. He said, but then we go with the word on what the word means in our limited earthbound experience as a human being. And he said, we're missing their message because we're listening to the words. We're not listening to what they're trying to get across because we can't comprehend it in an earthbound, everyday, day-to-day experience. It's incomprehensible.
Wise words from Rusty.
Always, yes. He who speak loud, say nothing.
Thank you for listening to my waffle. It made sense.
Lovely, Mel. Thank you for coming.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, we've had a bit of a cold and a cough and stuff, so we're kind of pretty sure it's just a cough, but you cough in the street, people look at you now like you're a murderer or something, so it's really horrible.
More socially acceptable to fart in the street now. Probably more socially acceptable to shit yourself in the street now. Like,
No, it'd be amazing. Be amazing. Yeah, just thank you for doing this. It's so nice.
I feel really blessed to be able to go through this time with the awareness. You know, if I think about the old Dave before 2013, going through this chapter of life, I would have been a wreck. I've been a wreck about so many things. I'm so thankful to go through it with this awareness. And it's like Leanne says, you know, it's not that and Godel said it, this isn't an anesthetic to life. We're not talking about finding an anesthetic that's going to stop us from feeling. No, this is the full embracing of existence.
It's been cool, isn't it? We've had my niece with us the last week because she's just been finding life hard. It's been really weird to be around her, but just, it's like she's just being a 13-year-old kid who's like found their own mind and like really, really like obsessed about body and image and what she looks like and all those things. But it's been really nice just to see her. She's fine. And like sometimes I'll entertain it for a little bit and then I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, right, now we're going to leave the house. Because it can take 3 hours to get out of the house because she's that into like making sure everything's right. But it's been so nice just to be able to look at her as a perfect little being, an expression. She's learning, she's testing her own mind. And there's just been moments where like we went to the woods and all of Dave's passwords are things he can see out the window. So we went to this woods, which is the password.
We won't say which window.
Which is then used on the laptop that she's now using. So she was in there on these swings and she was just laughing. Her hair was flying everywhere and then she was squealing. And then when she said to me later on, you know, I think I'm depressed. I was like, well, where was your depression earlier when we were on the swing? She kind of smirked. I said, and where was it when we were in Scotland walking around that lake? And where is it when we were at yoga the other night and we went and sat in the hot tub afterwards? And it's almost like I can see she's had so much insight in her life and shared beautifully about what she's seen around the principles. But like there's something about getting all lost in it all. And then when you come back, you find more great gratitude for it. And
learning.
And it's not wrong to get lost in the bullshit. Like it just seems to be what we do. And it's nice to be able to be around someone and let them do that, rather than need it to be different or want them to feel better or take it away. And I think that it's been brilliant learning for me, because I've seen how much thinking I still have around all that bullshit stuff. And because I've been around it and I've watched it in someone else, and I'm like, you're a freaking beautiful little being. How on earth could you think that one freckle on your face makes you look ugly? Like, it's mad. But I know I've been there and I've done that, and I've obsessed about one thing about myself. And it's been so cool, because I've realised I've been freed over this week. And I just said to Dave, I'm so sorry for when I've obsessed about the most stupid thing and gone on at you. It's so boring. Like it's
quite boring.
But it's so cool because it's so easy to see in someone else. And then it's almost like it's highlighted all these things that I still do. I'm like, and it's like we just keep learning. But knowing, like Godel said, you're all right. Everyone's all right to go through this stuff. We haven't got to try and prevent it. But then there will be times where something occurs to us to say that just strikes a chord with someone and they just snap out of it. And that's pretty cool too. But I'm starting to find so much gratitude for being around all of it. People when they're waking up, people when they're totally lost, and you being able to see that they're fine even though they don't. Like I feel so fortunate in this life to have come across this. And like Dave, Lisa and I are often just like, how did we get so lucky to have this life? Like, or these parents, or this connection and friendship that we get to have.
What I love about life now, Jen, sorry to interrupt, is that you can show up fully. Fully, I mean like fully, where questioning's great. There's something really beautiful when you can be fully in life and around people, whatever mood they're in, without having to jump into that mood with them, and you can just still be. There's something really beautiful about being able to be in every well, you can't ever not be in life. And Jen, like Jen once said to me, she's like, we're built for it all, every bit of it. And I was talking to Dickon recently, and he was listening to him, and he was talking about moods, and everybody has moods. We all have moods. The people we interact with, we're all in different vibes and different motions, but there's something so nice about being able to be around somebody who, like your niece Jen recently, was having a shit time, and not have to jump into the worry boat or appease it or fix it. Just carry on living, and it will always change, and it's always in motion, and it's never still, and it never stops. And when you know that's how you work, you can see it within everybody else. Like you can look at somebody else who might be having a really awful day, and you can like see this little film playing out in them, and you know it'll pass. And there's something really nice about not looking at somebody and going, oh, they're never going to get through this, they're broken, I need to fix this for them. Like Jen, you guys have watched you when she came up, and you guys were so everybody was just themselves. And she came in, and she seemed, she could sit there and she could be quiet, and nobody was wondering why she was being quiet, because you can there's something really nice about being able to be in somebody's company if they're in a shitstorm, and still be able to be in life with them alongside. And no, it's just like the motion of life, living through each and every single one of us, all at different times. Can you imagine how many thoughts go on this planet in a second? How many different experiences are surging through life in a split second? How much creation is going on every single second of the day?
I always think it's when we start to look at that kind of thing. There's a chapter, there's a section of the lost chapters of Thomas, the book of Thomas, when Jesus was apparently written down what he spoke about. There's this section written down. It's in many parts of the Bible actually, but in the lost chapters of Thomas it says Jesus, or Yeshua as he was known back in the day in Aramaic, his native language, apparently. It said, to enter the kingdom of heaven, God's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, you must become like the child. And it's not, he said, not harboring childish attitudes and behaviors, but finding that awe, finding that inspiration, finding that, what's the word I'm looking for? Amazement, wonder. Mel, I think you mentioned your kids just before. It's like your kids will probably find something and be so amazed by it. And we as adults may go, it's a snail shell. The kids will be like, wow, can I keep it? And you'd be like, no, put the dirty thing down. Of course you can keep it, whatever. To the kids, the snail shell is one of the most wonderful things they've ever seen. Wow! To us, the wonder and awe has gone out of the magnificence and magic of the snail shell. And that was along the lines of what you were speaking about just then, Lise. It's like seeing that. When people, it said that finding wonder, asking those grand questions to life. How can we possibly comprehend that right now there is infinite reality taking place just on earth? Infinite reality taking place just on earth. And I say infinite because it's not just human beings that are through which reality is taking place. It's taking place through everything. Every single ant in a colony experiences its own reality. All the ants, all the fish, all the insects, all the bacteria, all the microbes. They're all a state of consciousness. Consciousness is awareness. Awareness is experience. Experience is reality. Birth and death are taking place right now. Infinity in the moment. Infinite reality in the moment taking place. What is there not to wonder about in life? How can we possibly know anything? When we fall back, I know, Mark, this was a big insight for you, the not knowing part. It's like when you realize the not knowing, I do not know, all of a sudden wonder and awe comes back into your life. You become like the child. You enter the kingdom of happiness and joy and inspiration in life. What we were always looking for. I love the questions you ask, Lise. I love your observations of life. You often say we are our own questions to our own answers. Or we are our own answers to our own questions.
We come from the same place.
Born of the same place, the same thing. Always. Same place, fear and love are born. What should I say? Fear is born from love. I don't know why it is like that.
I was talking to you today and saying about one of the things I enjoy the most about life now is catching things like, I can't be asked. Oh, hello, I can't be asked. Hello, I can't be asked. We're gonna be asked. And then doing some, and I've said this in group before, but we were talking about today about the times when fear or who we think we are, it's like a barricade to keeping us in the same experience, because it's almost like life brings us something fresh and we go, oh no, I'm not that kind of person who can possibly do that. Or, oh, I'm scared, I couldn't do that. Or I can't be asked, I couldn't do that. And my experience in life shows me over again that I've actually now called it the asked. When I can't be asked, that's like somebody flicking an elastic band on my wrist going, yeah, you can. And every time I do the flip of I can't be asked, I have a great time. Every time I do the flip of I'm scared, when I catch it, I don't always catch it, but I question fear, and then my experience changes because it's not halted. And that's not to say there isn't a healthy fear in life of, when we were talking, Dave and Jen and I went to California in 2016. We came to an amazing place in Malibu, and it was like in a little bowl of hills, right? And I was like, what are we doing in Malibu? This is like, feels like the unattainable place, but here we are camping with dingoes at night time. Coyotes howling at night time on the tents. What the hell? Am I even doing this right now? And we actually were going up to Yosemite, so we had like the first stopover was in Malibu. We went up to Yosemite, we came back and we stayed in Malibu. So the first time we went up there, I said to these guys, I'm going to go up the mountain. I want to see what's on the other side. So I set off up the mountain, and I was introduced to Principles in 2014. And as I was going up this mountain, I saw a mountain lion poo, and I went, I'm going to get killed. So I turned around and I ran like you couldn't catch me. My thought just went, oof, and I shit myself. And I ran back to the tent and I met up with these guys. And I was like, oh my God. And then as I got to the bottom, I started like kind of laughing at myself because nothing had happened. But we were talking about the difference between the fear that is irrational, sort of, and then there's that thing that moves you, that wisdom that is different, feels different, because it moves you. When that fear comes, and it's like, that was flat panic. The fear of the mountain lion was flat panic. It wasn't even there. There was nothing there but a pile of shit. That was it. But my mind created this story. My adrenaline went, and you wouldn't have caught me, I'm gone. So we go to the cemetery, we have this great time, which is also flooded with sort of amazing noticings in life because of the environment we were in and the animals that were in that environment, like the bears and things like that. Anyway, came back to Malibu, and I thought, we was camped at the same campsite. Now then, this is the beauty of being open to life. Jen, who we call the puppet master, said to a policeman in Los Angeles, police, we should get a picture with him. So off I trot. Jen always lines it up so somebody else goes and does it because she wants it. And I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Policeman, can we have a chat? This guy, we had a chat with this policeman, he turned out to be really cool. He changed our holiday because we just wrote a list of places that he said we should go, and we went to all the places he said. So this is how we ended up at this campsite in Malibu. So we got back there because we had such a lovely time. In fact, it was this time because it was Halloween, and they put all the gravestones up in the campsite.
Yeah.
And Dave and Jen were sunbathing, and I said, oh, do you want to come up this mountain with me? And they went, no, we're going to stay here. And I'm like, I'm determined to see on the other side of that mountain. So I set off, and these little quails came out. I was like, wow, quail in the wild, it's amazing. Hummingbirds were coming around me. They were attacking me because I must have been near the nest. I got to the top of this mountain, and there was a cloud inversion, and the sun was shining over the sea, over the clouds, which were over the sea. And I was like, wow, am I even having this day? And then I rang Ewan, and he was in England, and I was chatting away to him, and then this rattlesnake went, and I was like, what the fuck, this is the most amazing walk ever. Anyway, I put the phone down, and I'm nearly at the summit of the mountain. I'm nearly there. And I'm like, God, this has just been the most incredible walk. I've lovely chat. I've seen all this wildlife, and it's amazing. And then I hit a wall. I couldn't go any further. And I stood there. And something came over me, and I thought, I'm gonna have to turn back. I don't know what this is, but I know I have to turn around. And I turned around, and I calmly started walking back. As I started walking back, the rattlesnake went again, and I mean, the noise this creature makes is amazing. I never thought in my life I'd experienced the noise. It made every hair on my body stand up because my senses had never heard it before. And I calmly and quickly walked off this mountain. Calm, precise, walked off this mountain and got to the bottom. And I heard this commotion on the top of this mountain, this swearing, this distressed human being, like I don't think I've ever heard anyone so distressed, swearing, and you could hear it was like a fight with one person on the top of this mountain. And as I came down it, I met two police officers in an Alsatian at the bottom, and they said, "Hey, hello, ma'am, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I am okay," but I was quite astounded at the fact that I'd actually turned around before I'd reached the summit. I was so determined to see over it. I didn't see over the mountain, by the way. And they said, well, we've got a guy who's severely mentally ill. He's on the run. He's quite dangerous. He's been robbing from everywhere. And I was like, he's up there. And something within me stopped me on that mountainside. And it turned me around and it calmly walked me back. And I knew that I was being moved. The trust that I had in life, that wasn't panic, that was the wisdom, or the whatever we call this energy that moves us in a better direction. When it comes, it's calm, it's precise, it's even and balanced. The fear of the mountain lion poo was creation panic. Rational freak out. There was no rationality in it. It was total freak out. Anyway, these guys were lovely. These police officers said, well, we're going to get him because he's not safe to himself. And they were lovely. And I said, well, he's up there. And we just had this beautiful conversation about all the times in life when stuff's really happened. Like when some guy tried to burgle me when I lived on my own. I thought I'd have run and hid, but I didn't. Something threw me out of bed and this noise came out of me that I didn't even know was in there. And this guy ran from my door. There is this thing that guides us, and the more you trust that place, you can become aware when it's irrational. You can kind of laugh at yourself. It doesn't have to be fear-based. It can be anything.
Thank you.
But there is a deeper level to life than we'll ever know, and we'll always try and figure it out. And to be honest, that's the beauty of life.
I think the kindest thing, the best thing, the thing that I've noticed stops people finding it is the search. The people who are the searchers, the people who never find.
There's that famous bit of wisdom that you always hear, or you always hear, that you are what you're looking for. I heard that today. You are what you are looking for.
People who go on the search, I'm a searcher, I'm a searcher. It often comes with an idea of, okay, well, when people come and see us and they say they're a searcher, what are you looking for? As a searcher, what have you gone looking for? I don't know. Then why are you looking? Oh, because I know it exists. What does? And if you really push somebody, they'll start saying words. Happiness, love, connection, God. No, they're just words. What you're looking for, you can't explain it. And when you truly stop looking and you truly start living like Lisa's describing, people tend to find it. And they'll realize it was them. The thing that they were looking for was themselves minus the story of creation. And the moment you find it within yourself, you see it within the next person, within the next object, within the next being, the next creature. And you realize it's all the same thing.
That creature.
It sounded like farting, so I don't know if you can hear that. My stomach's going mad.
Everybody is the most powerful thing. We have the power to create utter fucking misery for ourselves. We have that power. We have that power. Many of us use it. We also have the power for the absolute opposite. And the way we find that is by living and listening and learning. Kate, I know Kate, the lady we've put out a few videos about now, she wants to talk about her reflections, because when she reflects upon her life in the past, she sees a contrast and then she speaks about that. Reflection. Hindsight, as Keith and Balder would say, hindsight is insight. And that's all we have to do, is just live.
We were listening to some Sid Banks stuff today, and there was this beautiful part where he said that when the moment's passed, it's just an echo. And I don't know what it was within that. I was just like, it's just an echo, because everything is fresh. You know, when we look back over stuff, it's stale and old. You know, you can write an email. You could write an email to somebody and they get it a week after you've sent it. So much will be different from when you sent that email. Doesn't matter what the content, but the freshness of life is always in motion.
That's why Godel spoke about now.
I think that's why I've enjoyed so much. Like, we've been interviewing people who have just like really woken up to the principles and it's changed their life, and then you interview them and it's like, it's so fresh. And I think sometimes, like, there's been times where I've got bored of my own voice. I'm like, I'm bored of what I've seen. I'm bored of saying and talking about that. And it's almost like I've then had to be quiet and do less of it to wait for something else to come. Because it's in the freshness of seeing in the moment that it seems is the power. And I think that's why I've loved interviewing Kate, because you can see that everything coming to her is like, it's from like fresh. This is the moment of what I've been seeing. And sometimes she'll say to us, can we do it today? Because it's alive in me now, and I don't know if it will be alive in me tomorrow. And you're like, yeah, I want to capture that moment. So I think that's the thing that seems to connect with people, is the aliveness and the freshness of what they've seen. And even like, I know in some of my old interviews from like 14 years ago, like there's people that listen to that and they still hear it, because whatever was fresh for me then is what I was sharing. And they're picking up on the aliveness of it, not the words. Because I can listen to it and be like, oh my God, I don't see it like that anymore. God, did I really say that on camera? But I can see I'm alive with something. And that's the inexplicable, not tangible bit of this. And I was saying to my mum earlier, like when we were chatting, I just said, it's been so cool, like just going around the shops with Dave and Lisa, because you two seem to bring this hilarity to every conversation, or we'll have Rusty with us, and it's like it just comes out of you. Not always, like sometimes you might be quieted, but just I'm not used to going to a shop and just talking to people I don't know and starting conversation.
You're Southern.
Maybe.
Cheeky.
But there's a lightness, and it's like people are asking like how to share this, and I'm like, live. And when you're not thinking about yourself, and I find myself doing it more now. Like I was chatting to the hairdresser today, and I was like, after like, God, I don't normally chat to the hairdresser that I don't know. Like it was just, and we just had a lovely connection. But I wasn't thinking about myself and how to be or what to say or.
Just present.
Yeah, and it's been. I think I've loved being around you two for that. I don't know, just your ease in connection with people.
Jen, we found the parcel.
You found it? Oh, it's in the shop.
Yeah, but we had to. You sent us a picture of that doorway.
I sent you the address, number 11.
No, the address is here. The address is where we are. So we had to drive around this village looking for a red door, right? And we had to track it down to the colour of the threshold and the doormat in this village. We drove around for about an hour and a half, and we knocked on the door, and the cutest, oldest man was so Scottish, I couldn't understand the word he said. Oh, you know, shop and print, and I was like, and we found it eventually in the shop. But we had a lovely drive round looking for it. We know the whole of this village now. So if the postman had just delivered it, it would have been boring. So it worked out. But we haven't got it, so we don't know what it is yet.
Sounded really dodgy. We've got the package.
Got the package.
It's a parcel. It probably sounds as bad. All right, everybody. Does anybody have any questions? There's a chat.
That's right.
Is that a LOL badge? Anna, is Anna gone? Anna's gone.
Yeah, I text her back.
Yes, it's a birthday badge. My mate Sasha gave me this, Sasha and Mike.
You've just muted. Oh no.
You're still wearing that badge, Dave. That's really sweet.
Shows I haven't washed my jumper, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on here.
Guys, I've got to go because I'm going to the Kielder Observatory.
You go. Kielder? No, you're going to.
Galloway.
You're not going to Kielder.
Galloway.
That's a long way away. Don't
We'll
go.
see you all. See you guys soon.
See you soon, love. Love you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Any questions, anybody? Or is everybody done? Any comments? Marky Mark, Colette? Oh,
We've got another one of these in 2 weeks from today.
we keep saying this.
And also we've got the online retreat is in November, the 27th to the 29th, and it's going to stay those dates. We will not change it again. I had to change it again because we booked it in at the same time that Viva was happening. But it's the 27th to the 29th, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
If people are interested, it's on our website and Facebook.
Colin and Catherine, do you want to say anything? No. Ali? Lise? Susan? Mel?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. I personally really enjoyed that. I'm so
Yes, we
thankful.
were so tired beforehand.
Yeah.
We were like, well, we've got group. I completely forgotten.
I was getting ready to go
And I
and
can
get
see
my
your neck's
pajamas on and go to
hurting.
bed.
Your neck's hurting you more again now because you're starting to turn like a
Like a
funny
robot.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you, everybody. It was a really lovely call, and for me personally, I really enjoyed that. It was so nice hearing people. Yeah. See you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Loads of love, everyone.
Love.
Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.